And now we start 2025 with a very important message for any Challengers subscriber who listens to this podcast. Dal, take it away.
Dear valued Challenger subscriber, you just know something is up when we start an email like that, don't you? Well, we'll get right to the point. As of January 15th, we will be discontinuing the 5% subscription service discount. This is where a few of you will say, wait, there was a discount? We're sorry it's come to this, but the simple truth is costs keep going up on the administration management side of things, and we can't afford to keep losing money every month on the service aspect of our business. The behind-the-scenes costs of selling comics have reached a level where the math that made a subscription discount viable is long, long in the past, and providing a flat discount off of the fixed cover price of comics and graphic novels just doesn't work. We've spent the last couple of years trying to figure it out, but the industry as it exists now makes it non-viable. We do feel that the control you have over your subscriptions and the benefits the subscription service provides, the outright convenience of having your books waiting for you, makes up for losing the 5%. If you've been with us for a long time, you know that we are constantly trying to provide you with a seamless, intuitive comic subscription experience, and after several other attempts, we're finally with a system we're happy with. Hopefully you feel the same. We're here to answer any questions you may have on this decision, and we hope you'll stick with us in 2025. Thanks for being a Challenger, Patrick and W. Dal. P.S. Don't forget the city is raising the bag tax to 10 cents per bag starting today. Now it's like they're piling on.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eyes to approve, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the Challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard, then it's a job for the Challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal.
Dal.
W. Dal Bush.
So that was a decision that we did not make lightly, and we spent weeks talking about it behind the scenes.
Correct.
But ultimately, what it comes down to is, I don't even know how many stores actually give discounts anymore.
Right.
I went to the websites of many, not all, comic shops in Chicago, and I could not tell who gave discounts. I could tell that Graham Crackers does it if you get 10 books or more. So it's a scale.
Right.
But it wasn't obvious elsewhere. And this email that we sent out was a back and forth between you and I of like, after we had made the decision to let it go, it was, how do we vocalize it?
Yeah.
How do we get the message across? And, we knew we were going to talk about it here on the podcast, but we wanted to make sure that it made sense, but didn't sound petty.
Yeah, I mean,
but also didn't sound desperate.
Right. The podcast is not a substitute for a communication with our customers. And yeah, we wanted to make it something where it was less about kind of placing blame or really making it too long and convoluted than just saying look, this is what we're doing. And these are what we think are reasonable explanations for why we're doing it.
And it just makes sense because in today's day and age where everything in life seems to be a subscription service or a subscription model.
Yep.
You're always paying for that subscription.
It's true.
You're always paying for the service. And I don't even mean the product. I mean the service.
Yeah.
And you've never had to pay for our service.
Right.
In fact, we were always giving you money back.
Yeah. When you look at it without kind of the history of how subscription services have worked in places that we've worked
in the comics industry
for
as
the
a
last
whole.
few decades, when you just look at it in raw 2025 details, I think altogether what you're getting with our free subscription service is of enough benefit that we shouldn't need to also discount it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I 100% know what you mean.
Once upon a time, I think it was, a subscription service was a lot more, there was less effort that went into it. I know for a fact because I've
putting the effort in for 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, I've been working with different subscription services and doing different polls for customers for, 30 years. So I understand over time how it's become more and more work and more effort to make sure that all the right things happen at the right time for people's books to make sure they don't miss anything. And the idea kind of also trying to incentivize participation in that process was like, I don't know that we need to do that anymore. And I mean, the other real fiscal matter is that when we're looking at our business and we're trying to make sense of it, and we're trying to balance things, and we're trying to make a going concern of things continuously, with comic books, there is a fixed cover price to books. You look at a Marvel #1 and it says $4.99 or $5.99 on the cover, and that's kind of
Or
it.
$6.99 or $7.99
Yeah.
or $8.99.
And you know, we don't really have the flexibility in a suggested retail price environment to just suddenly go like, okay, all the books are $1 more.
Yeah.
Like that.
And also, I mean, brass tacks, since we switched to paying in Random House, we've lost
discount points.
We've lost 7 discount points.
Yeah. So in reality, I mean, there's very few places that we can look at to our business to try and balance things. And one of the easy targets for us to look at was maybe we stop giving away 5% on subscriber purchases. Like that is a lot of money out the door. Again, like Patrick mentions in the email, that's I think a really good point, to people who, for the most part, honestly, probably don't even know they're getting a discount. So once upon a time, there's a real fear of like, oh my God, like this is going to drastically affect people. And we realized when we've had to make changes over the last few years to the subscription service, very few people even know they were getting a discount, let alone care what the amount was that they were getting. So, while we definitely feel for the people that this is impacting, this is a situation where in the aggregate, it's helping us a lot. But in the individual, I don't think you're going to notice a change. While this may be helping us on a weekly basis, that's spread out over hundreds of transactions that individually are like $1 or less. Like it's not a lot of money.
So I'm going to give a statistic, which is heavily asterisked.
Slightly deceptive.
But slightly deceptive.
Slightly deceptive.
Last year in 2024, we gave out over $36,000 in discounts.
Here are the asterisks for that. One, we have a giant store-wide 25% off sale in February that it accounts for not the majority of that, but certainly a percentage of that is in the double digits. Additionally, people who work at Challengers, one of the perks they have is they don't pay full price for their stuff. We give them an employee discount, and the employee discount is we have a lot of employees, and some of them buy a lot of books. So those are the kind of 2 main asterisks.
I have noticed. Wait, do any of our employees listen to this?
Let's assume not.
Yeah. When talking to other stores, the discount we offer, which I think is great, is more than some stores, less than other stores.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a range. When I was working at a prominent national chain of comic shops.
I thought you were going to say video rental.
No, Graham Crackers Comics. I'll just say it.
They don't run videos.
The amount of, what am I thinking, a brainstorm? The amount of discount an employee got was all over the place and frequently used as a perk to either assuage,
incentivize your work ethic.
That's one of them, to incentivize your work ethic, or to assuage ill will, or just in lieu of other payment. So it's everybody, like the percentage you got off was pretty a wide spectrum. I remember I was at 30% for a while, and like
wow,
the carrot was kind of like cost. Like Patrick got cost.
Did I?
You did.
I honestly don't remember that.
You're one of the few people that I know that in that company who got that. And I'm saying it now because there's no secrecy involved in this anymore. But at the time, I think it was kind of not a closely guarded secret. It was definitely something where like you did not talk about what your benefits were.
The same way that a lot of corporations have you don't talk about your salary to anybody.
Right. And I mean, it was just, some of it was a corporate thing, but some of it was just, it was a little gauche to mention that you were getting a higher discount off of product than someone who was doing a similar job at another location. It engendered that ill will.
This week on social media, our accountant posed this question, which I will pose to you. Mm-hmm. Would you rather get a large tax return back once a year, or have that same amount split up and added to your check all year long?
That's interesting.
I already have my answer, but I don't want to influence you.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, if you do like investments and things like that, have things like a 401k or retirement plan, I'm sure there's like a benefit to one or the other.
Look, I keep telling you, death is a viable retirement plan.
Yeah. It's
what you do
one.
after working.
It's true. I like my job, so I could do it for a while. It's cool. I don't know. What was your answer?
My answer was the one lump sum.
Okay.
And here's why. Because A, it feels like a reward.
Okay.
Even though it's your money.
Yeah.
It feels like a bonus.
Kind of, yeah. I see what you're saying.
And
psychologically,
also, I would not notice that money split into 52 weeks.
Right.
Because it'd be such a little extra.
Yeah, if you got $40 a week, you probably wouldn't notice it, but you get $2,000 back at the beginning of the year and you're like, oh, I can pay off this thing, or I can take this trip, or I can buy this thing I've been waiting for.
And inevitably I spend that money poorly, but the first couple of like, what are you going to do with this?
Mine is almost always, and will be again this year,
credit cards.
Payment plans for things that I bought from like stores that I will need to start paying off. And I'm slowly paying off, but it'd be nice to knock off a huge chunk of that.
I literally got an email alert from Credit Karma saying, hey, your Bank of America credit card bill is higher than it's ever been. Like your limit, like your credit usage is higher than it's ever been.
That's what they
And I just wanted to say, yeah, it's Christmas.
Yeah. Sorry.
I had a lot of things to buy for people this Christmas. And I would be paying that off with my tax return come March.
Bought some bedroom furniture that I have a year to pay off, and it would be nice to be done with that in like spring. That would be cool.
I've got, I think, 7 more payments on the new bed that I bought back in June. Yeah. So anyway, what was your answer?
Oh, I think I agree with your psychological approach. The idea of getting it in a lump sum feels better than just, essentially having $40 or $50 more a week, even though it's, arguably you could just save it up the whole year and then have it whenever you
Definitely
want.
could not. That is not the way my
could
financial works. Yeah,
so,
definitely could not.
Anyway, so we were talking about the subscriber discount. A few people have reached out to us since we sent out that email to our subscribers, and thankfully to a person. They've been very supportive, both in understanding why we're doing this, letting us know it's not a big deal to them, and crucially, saying nice things about our business.
Yeah, that was really great. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Chris Weiberg. That was an excellent email.
Yeah.
And I did respond to him.
And Hunter. Thank you, Hunter.
Hunter's was, I get it.
Which, honestly, that's cool. Like, the nerves that we have when we make a change like this is, while oftentimes it's something we absolutely need to do for the sustained health of our business, it's also something where for me at least, there's always this tiny, but not unnoticeable fear that this will be the straw that broke the camel's back.
Sure.
That there will be a mass exodus that we've completely miscalculated and there's no getting it back and the horses left the barn and that's it. Like, what was an attempt to sustain our business has sunk it. And it doesn't seem to be the case this time, thankfully, so far, knock wood. So that's cool. I appreciate people kind of understanding where we're coming from and understanding that there is still value to what we're offering, even if this individual discount is not there. If you look at the complexities
of the individual issue market nowadays,
I do. I hate it.
The fact that people get to navigate that to their heart's content, which was not a thing that existed just a few years ago. And when we switched to Comic Suite back in 2009, it was a revelation as far as the control people could, or we could have over people's subscriptions. We had it. They didn't have it at that point.
Right. I mean, honestly, it took us a while to even understand the full width and breadth of Comic Suite. I remember being out to dinner with another retailer and them sort of mentioning that there was a way that we could do subscriptions to B covers for DC books. Because for a while, I had no idea how to even do that. And then it's like, oh, you can set this to this. And then that person will only get the B cover for DC books. Oh my God, this is so great. But even then, like, we had to upgrade from Comic Suite because Comic Suite's consumer-facing offering, Pullbox, just was not sufficient. And Managed Comics was a far better solution. And I mean, the amount of things that people can do with their Managed Comics subscription, and I know all the things that Brian has planned for the future, are great. And it's the ability to kind of have 24/7 access to your subscription account, to be able to micromanage it in that way, to go in and say these specific covers and look at FOCs every week and get, up to date cover data and creator data and solicit data. I think all that stuff is amazing, and that's all that that costs us money to provide that, and B, there's a lot of work that goes into making that something that people have access to, and then, essentially making that data apply to our weekly orders as we get them in.
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff I wish that this was just like, you send in your stuff and then books just get pulled. Like, no, that's me and Molly, and that's Patrick unpacking stuff, and that's Gina checking things in, and that's, all of that stuff happening at all times.
And just a few years ago, you would not have had that kind of control over what you have. And it's still a point that we're not charging for that.
No.
And we never have.
No.
And
I don't think we ever would. I mean, I see what you're saying, and I definitely agree that there's value to it that you could probably put a dollar amount on. But I think, the ability of people to pre-order their stuff.
That was a mistake where I went to swipe an email away, and I accidentally swiped it open.
Oops.
And when it opened the email app, it stopped the recording.
Oh, no.
So this is a 2-piece, if not more, episode.
Who knows?
I just went to swipe it away. I didn't mean to open it, and it opened, and then we both heard the bloop, stop beep, and then the upload beep. And then here we are.
Here we are.
So yes, that is why we have, I don't even know what the counter was at. I have no idea how long we had gone for in that first part.
Oh, I don't know.
And I don't know what.
Let's say 10 minutes? I don't know.
Weird.
So who knows how long this episode is going to end up being. Maybe too short, maybe too long.
Right? So I can't just look at this and be like, oh, here's how far we've gone. No idea. So anyway, that's our decisions for the subscription service. And when we had talked about it, Dal had said, I'm not entirely sure how to explain this. So if you want to take a run at a description or an email.
Mm-hmm.
And I admit to be taken a little aback when, like, I sent you, I'm like, here's something to go off of.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, all right, make these changes and that's it. I'm like, wait, what? This is it? I just thought I was showing you how I would do it. No. And then you would incorporate that.
Oh, no. I mean, I thought what you had was, I didn't feel a need to rewrite it.
Yeah.
It was just like.
But I thought you had a whole different take or something else.
I didn't have any take. I mean, if I'd sat down and had the assignment of like writing this email, I'm sure I could have come up with something, but I didn't really have
I guess what it was, I didn't realize I had that assignment.
No. I mean, I wasn't expecting you to, like, I thought we were both going to do kind of our version of it, and you got there way earlier than I did. So I thought
I was late.
So I was just like, okay, well, this is the basis now. Like, it wasn't going to be like, I'll do a completely separate one and then we'll add them together. It was like, no, you did 90% of the work. So let's figure out the last 10% so that we both feel like this is addressing what we needed to address.
And I did hear back personally that somebody enjoyed the bag tax line.
There you go.
Because I did switch it up before I sent it.
Mm-hmm. Which is, when I was reading that just now, you had a different thing at the end, so I had to process it really quickly and be like, oh, okay.
It's like the Stefan SNL sketches where there's added jokes that you've never seen. Well, that's the point. The point is John Mulaney would add jokes to it that Bill Hader had never read. Uh-huh. So he was reading them live.
Sure.
And trying not to
laugh.
Yeah. But the whole point was to get him to break.
Sure.
My point was not to get you to break.
Okay. It didn't.
But it was to add a little punchline tag without it being too whiny.
Yeah, I think both of us had the intent with the email of, again, it being straightforward without being, self-pitying or, taking aim at anything. I think frequently when I've seen stores do stuff where they have to announce a change to their business, there's a kind of like, this is Diamond's fault or whatever. And it's like, there's a lot of moving pieces both in the market and out of the market that are making this happen. It's not any one person's fault. And it's just, this is us having to take a look at our business and the way it works and how much it costs and figuring out, what we can offer going forward.
We talked last episode about how we were doing for Christmas sales at the time and laid the changes at the feet of Barnes & Noble, potentially.
Maybe.
And now that December is over, it wound up being down a bunch from 2023, which in itself had been down for a bit. So this was, this is, you have to go back to the pandemic to have a worse December.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I was going to say this was our worst December of the 20s, but it's not because we beat 20, but 21, 22, and 23 all beat 2024.
Sure.
Which was A, very disappointing, B, honestly unexpected, and there was a C and I've forgotten it. I don't know. So it was unexpected because of how things have been trending up.
Yeah, our October and November were good year over year, so the hope was that was a continuing thing, and then we kind of hit a wall in December where...
Don't touch that notification.
I won't. And the wall we hit in December was a lot of the kind of walk-in traffic that would do gift buying didn't do that.
Yeah.
So
now that 2024 as a year is over, and I spent the last couple of days doing end-of-year paperwork, I can tell you, well, I've already told you, that we are overall, year to year, 2024 compared to 2023, this is not an expense analysis. This is not a percentage. This is just a raw gross sales. We were up in 2024 by, are you ready?
I'm sitting down.
0.019%.
Yeah.
By about $1,200. By not quite
0.2 of a percent.
We were up.
I'm sorry. 0.02%.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Not quite
You're
0.02 of a percent.
Is that right? 0.2%.
If you said...
Oh, yeah, you're right. It'd be 0.2. Yeah, okay. 0.02%.
Yeah.
Which, honest to God, for the majority of this year, it did not feel like we'd be even close to being, quote-unquote, up.
Yeah.
And it was because October, November did some serious heavy lifting. Thank you, Absolute Books.
Thank you, Absolute Books. Golly.
And it went from, oh my God, we're going to be up to, wait, are we?
Yeah, one of the things I think I'd mentioned when we were doing some episodes back in October and November is that, obviously the December thing, I think you can really lay at the feet of the casual shopper that would normally do gift buying.
I misspoke. I had, it wasn't $1,200, it was $1,800.
Oh.
Still less than $2,000.
But the things that made October, November so strong are likely things that can continue into January because a lot of it is just regular comic shopping.
Yeah.
Again, like recurring series that are still releasing new issues and subscribers who have signed up for them.
Careful when you say that word, so no electronic intelligence devices don't hear anything.
Artificially intelligent.
Series is
saying not intelligent.
That doesn't work. Yeah, so hopefully it is a thing that can continue.
I mean, I got a piece of good news from Penguin Random House earlier today.
I delete that email so bad.
Let's see what it was.
It was a block club.
Okay. A great piece of news from Penguin Random House in regards to some February releases. It's Jeff and It's Jeff the Jeffverse are going back to print.
Oh, great.
Because of the Marvel Rival stuff and the fact that, I mean, for a lot of stores, they'd maybe never even cared in the first place. And I mean, very few stores were like us and we're still stocking all 3 Jeff issues
with
into December.
Super reordered quantities as well.
Yeah. And we're going to do stupid numbers for the new printings. I want more Jeff comics on the shelf. I don't want to run out.
Yeah.
And especially now that hopefully people will still be playing Rivals in February. I want to read Jeff stuff. I don't know. I think the collection will come out till the summertime. So yeah, we'll have time to sell Jeff and Jeff's first.
I thought your good news was going to be that they're going to fill your amalgam page of.
I mean, I haven't heard one way or the other. When they had a shipping notification on that, it was just that it would be like the second week of January. It was not going to be soon.
Yeah.
And so that means that I probably won't get a shipping notification if it's even coming out until the end of next week.
That's one of the things I haven't done yet today because I was doing everything else. I haven't done the invoice pull downs for the 21st, 22nd. That's what it'd be, right? 22nd.
Yeah. So I'll tell this story real quick.
Okay.
So people understand what Patrick was just referring to. We ordered copies of the DC Marvel Amalgam hardcover omnibus from Lunar.
I want to say that I thought and I'm wrong, but I thought we did a thorough job of promoting that book, soliciting for pre-orders. And this is just for both of the DC vs. Marvel collection and the Marvel vs. DC Amalgam Age collection. And we ordered extra of the first one for the shelf and immediately sold out the first day.
Right.
And it's completely unavailable, never to be reprinted again. And we could have sold like 10 more.
Yeah. So for the Amalgam one, we got allocated.
First, there was a printing error.
Right. They had
back 4 months. They had to destroy all the ones they printed, from what I heard, and then need to reprint.
Yeah, because originally it was supposed to come out the same week as the DC versus Marvel one, and then we just found out of nowhere, like, no, it's rescheduled for the last week of the year. We got allocated, which means we did not only did we not have any for the shelf this past week, we also did not have enough for subscribers. Specifically, we had one less copy than we needed for subscribers. And what that meant in this instance was that Dal didn't get his. I signed up for it. I was one of the subscribers, but when we get shorted stuff like that, it's employees and store owners that go without.
I didn't tell you this last Friday when I told Molly we were shorted. She said, "Oh no, is it mine?"
Oh no. No, Molly got hers. I made sure Molly got hers. Dal didn't get his. Dal had to try and quickly reorder it. Obviously wasn't going to reorder it from Lunar because Lunar was the one who allocated it in the first place for us.
But we'd also heard from All Star Comics that they'd been steadily reordering the main book from PRH, which we had not.
We had.
Had we?
I mean, I had ordered multiple copies of the DC versus Marvel.
Or was it Lunar?
I think it was Lunar, you said.
Okay.
Because we had reordered it from PRH and they'd never filled. And we were like,
okay, sorry.
Oh, I heard Lunar had them. And then we went and checked, and of course, Lunar doesn't have them. But anyway, so I reordered copies for myself and for the shelf from Penguin Random House. But again, we had done a reorder on DC versus Marvel from Penguin Random House, and that never filled. So I don't know if A, we're going to have any for the shelf for the Amalgam Omnibus. B, I'm going to have my copy. So we'll see. But anyway, yeah, that's how we do things at Challengers. If there is an allocation, if a subscriber has to go without, it starts at the top and then moves down from there. You and I go without, and then if necessary, employees go without, and then if necessary, customers go without. That's the order it goes in. That's how we do things.
Ultimately, while it may be a case of, I really wanted that, you have to look at the bookshelves and say, as of right now, all of this is yours.
Yeah, pretty much.
What else do you need?
Yeah, and I mean,
technically,
there's a lot of perks.
It's half mine.
There's a lot of perks to owning a comic shop, and sometimes you have to be the one to sacrifice a little bit.
Sure.
I'm okay
By
being the one
up and opening the store and working it all day.
I'm okay not getting a copy of the Amalgam Omnibus. A, maybe right now. B, maybe never, because it means that a customer got it as well. It's fine. Also,
you've lived your entire life up to this point not having it.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to reread those Spider-Boy issues again. Mike Ringo, Jose Ladron. Those are pretty good. But it's not going to ruin my life. I read them before. I owned them at one point. It's fine. What if Spider-Boy teamed up with Jeff? Oh boy.
Imagine? Can you imagine?
What is it would have to be like Criff the Land Shark or something, because it'd be like Crypto and Jeff the Land Shark, right? Like it would have to be two. Because is Crypto the equivalent at DC?
I don't think so. It would have to be like Kanga.
No, because like Jeff's, I think, a little bigger deal.
No, but it can't, like, Crypto's a dog.
Right.
Jeff is a creature that doesn't exist.
Kanga's a kangaroo. Kangaroos exist?
No, but they're
they do, I swear. Australia.
It's a different kind of.
Big. Just
maybe I'm thinking of a different. Yeah, come on. Jesus.
It was like Prody.
Right continent.
Prody, probably.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought like maybe there's a different Wonder Woman thing I'm thinking of where it was like a genetically altered thing, like Jeff is.
I don't know.
Like it can't be Ace the Bat Hound. He's just a dog. Like Crypto is a dog from a different planet.
Right.
Ace is just a dog.
Okay.
It's got to be the Bat Cow.
Okay. Interesting. Or didn't Damien have that like giant wolf bat dog, Goliath, whatever his name is?
Yeah.
There you go.
His own man bat thing.
Yeah.
It's now time to thank our Patreon supporters, including our annual patrons, Usi Arun Singh, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Brent Helt, Dal's mom Diane Bush, President of the Brian Garside Fan Club, Django Borin, Jose and Genevieve Villagomez, Josh Crowley of Westfield Comics, our bestest wrestling watching pal, Michael Lee, Michael Romanenko, Severio the Cat, our patrons who have created their own tier, Andrew, Drew Troy Aaliyah, Chris Burton, Claudine Neville, our other generous patrons from the Say My Name pledge level, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas, Managed Comics Own, Brian Garside, Christopher Haith of Crooked Dog Comics, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, my brother George Brower, Heidi D., Holly Aitchison, Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of Oh Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Matt Armstrong, Mitchell Davies of All-Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Kaiju Perry, Nicholas Fenner, my longtime pal Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan, Walt's Comic Shop from Berlin, Germany. And if you want to hear your name thanked on this very podcast once a month, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. And a big thank you to all our other patrons at the various other pledge levels. We had the same type of, oh man, I looked at the clock to be like, oh, here's where I can insert the Patreon. I don't know what time it's going to be in the normal, the other thing.
Nope.
I don't know. Here's a statistic that I harped on a lot about last year at this time, but it's still shocking to me, and it's something we need to work on. And we did a good job of pulling it down some from last year, but if you look at all the money we spent on product, and I meant to count up how many different individual sources we got product from, and I didn't, but it's close to over 100. But I mean, that's standard for us when we counting every local artist we buy from and things like that. But only product. Like when we hire someone to do a bookmark, that doesn't count.
No.
Because that is a promotional item and not something we sell. So if you take all the money we spent on comics, let's call it $1 million, which is nowhere near what it is.
No.
And then if you take all the money we spent on running the store, whether that be rent or printer supplies or subscriptions for computer programs or literally utilities, literally anything that costs the store money that's not product. And if you look at the difference, the administrative side, as I call it, is always much higher than the product side. And that is a thing that I always want it to be lower, and it'll probably never be lower.
Probably not.
But the distance between...
We run a pretty lean business, all things considered. I mean, arguably to our detriment, but that's just what we can afford.
The difference between them, any guesses? In tens of thousands of dollars?
Were we starting with $1 million?
Yes. So okay. So we spent $1 million on comics. So how much over $1 million did we spend on administration costs?
$20,000.
$63,000.
That seems way too high.
That is down a lot from last year.
That's great.
It's still, so it's $1.6 million.
Jesus.
Well, no, that'd be 600,000. But anyway.
Let's just get rid of the million.
Yeah, that's fine. We spent
irrelevant right now.
$63,000 more on administration costs than we did on product.
Jesus.
And, it's never going to be like 80-20% wise.
Well, one of us will die at some point.
Sure. But I assume the other person will just absorb their salary.
No, not the full amount. That seems greedy. Maybe half.
I mean, it's going to be me, so you do whatever you want. Your costs,
just make sure you pay off that furniture first.
Your costs stay the same. Am I gonna die that quickly? Some regular lines I use on a regular basis when people ask things like, "Living the dream?" I'll say, "Yeah, nightmares are dreams."
Mhm.
And also, like I said earlier, my retirement plan is death.
Okay. These are great things to say all the time.
Sure.
It's great.
Right?
So good.
Come on, they're fun, Dal. Fun Dal. That was your college nickname, wasn't it?
Yep, all his college days.
I thought so. Did you hear that our go-to font, Calibri,
Is it? Was that our go-to font?
Yeah, I'm like all my emails set to that.
Okay.
Everything I do for the store is it's like not for
Sure. Signage and stuff.
yeah, but for internal whatever.
Yeah, okay.
For the new release, like the internal new release and everything.
Okay.
That's my go-to for everything.
Cool.
It's officially retired.
Oh no.
I mean, it still exists.
It died.
But it's exit strategy. Apparently its heyday was like 2007.
Okay.
Yeah. That came up because apparently the font used in Times Square for New Year's Eve ball drop that announced 2025 was Calibri.
Oof.
And
And a lot of font nerds were like,
yeah,
be in the now.
I do appreciate
Your
font nerds, though.
18-year-old boring font. Why
So-
not just use Papyrus?
How dare you? This backside here is the list minus Sidekicks books.
Okie dokie.
But this front side, here we got
Ooh, front
two
side.
columns of our top 50 bestsellers for single issues and for collections, graphic novels,
Cool.
whatever. So I think we do need to maybe reclassify one type of book that we sell that counts as a graphic novel but doesn't fit our $9.99 definition.
Okay.
And those would be little golden books
Why?
because they don't fit our $9.99 definition.
I mean, the $9.99 thing. I think
And so many single issue comics cost way more than $5.99. Like
I think the format is really what we're talking about, and the kind of perennial aspect of it. There were some of, I think now they're probably $10, but a lot of like the Pokemon graphic novels were so small and slender that I think they were under $10 for a while.
8 of our top 50 best-selling graphic novels are little golden books.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wish most of them weren't out of print now.
Right? One of them was Sandman Won't Share.
Just restock that. Just like this week.
And no, it's not an endless storybook.
Uh-huh.
It's the Spider-Man villain.
Yeah. It's the Spidey and His Amazing Friends style stuff, which honestly, those do great for us. That the comic does okay, but the little golden books do great.
We only have one manga in our top 50.
I'm trying to think what that would be.
It's a volume 1.
Dan to Dan?
Nope.
Yeah, it was out of stock for too long.
It's a much bigger book.
Berserk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Berserk volume 1.
Berserk, I mean, there's a couple volumes I think that we're waiting to get back in stock, but volume 1 I don't think we really had much of a problem with all year. And that's it. Always when we come to the top 50, top 100 for the year, the limiting factor for a lot of graphic novels, especially manga, was it still in print? If it has to be out of print for 3 months or more, it's going to take a huge hit on our charts.
Yep. What's interesting to me about these charts is that while we have an entire room dedicated to young readers' books and sidekicks,
Yep.
not that many books are huge sellers for us.
Nope.
But they sell consistently. They don't sell huge numbers, but they sell regularly.
Yeah, I definitely think as I look at the new catalogs and stuff, I was just looking at the new catalogs for March yesterday. And I think in years past, we would probably have taken a much wider net to younger readers' upcoming releases. You know, anything that looked even vaguely credible or professional, it was like, let's give it a shot. Now it's like, not many of those books sell consistently or more than a single copy. So it's like, do we really need to offer that kind of selection when most people who go into that room, adults or children, gravitate towards certain franchises? We always want to find the next big thing, the next huge book, something that looks really cool. But the reality of the situation is that, you know, much like manga, you can kind of narrow it down to like 50 good series or franchises. And anything outside of that is like, you know, drops in the ocean. It's not doing a whole lot for anybody.
Only one volume of Dogman made our top 50.
Dogman's slowing down. That was the thing that I remember hearing from ICV2 or somebody else, was The Beat maybe, was talking about the younger readers book trade and talking about how there was some weakness in it. Some of it was that the whole category is maybe its health was being disguised by how strong things like Dogman were. And now Dogman is showing some weakness as it's, been dominant for so many years. And that's now exposing a lot more systemic weakness in, again, just how many younger readers books there are. There's really a lot. I can't stress that enough. I mean, if you think, there's a lot of superhero comics or a lot of, single issue comics or a lot of, horror graphic novels, there are so many younger reader books coming out every single month from publishers you've never even heard of.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of books.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
May I say again,
Yeah.
oh, and if I may. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a category that I think in the coming years you'll see a little bit of a market correction on. Hopefully no one loses their jobs or no one loses their ability to make a living. But there's definitely maybe too many books coming out for the children of America to devour. Maybe.
I certainly hope the Dogman movie gets new eyes on the property.
Sure.
I also wonder if our lack of huge sales of the new Dogman volume are Barnes & Noble related.
I think
we're always competing with Target anyway.
Yeah, I think honestly it's more to do with places like Amazon. I think if you know that your kid reads Dogman.
Who's going to the jungle to get a comic book for their kids?
And also, I don't know if it would be a Scholastic Book Fair thing. I don't know if they would have them that late in the year around the holidays, but maybe, because that's always where that book is sold a ton to kids, is the captive audience of the Scholastic Book Fairs at their schools. We've never had a lot of first week sales that are very strong on kids' graphic novels, which is why sometimes when you'll order 12 of a new Investigators, I'm just thinking that is going to take us 4 months to sell.
But we'll sell them.
We will, but I think you could make the argument of maybe we just do 4 and then sell out and restock and sell out and restock and sell out.
Restock from who?
We would Investigators, we'd probably do 3 Ingram.
Okay.
Yeah.
At a significantly lower discount.
Sure, but less upfront money. The weekly bills don't take as much of a hit.
Sure. I was also waiting for you to say Simon & Schuster so I could have a negative comment about that. Well, I won't.
In this case, it's Ingram.
Okay. Dal, can you tell me what our number one selling graphic novel was for the year?
I can. Would you like me to?
Yes.
Transformers Volume 1.
What? How did you know? I have the list.
I gave you the data.
That's true. Transformers Volume 1.
Transformers Volume 1 by Daniel Warren Johnson from Skybound Image. Perfect cross-section of a creator that we have a huge fan base for, based on books like Do a Powerbomb and Murder Falcon and Beta Ray Bill and Wonder Woman Dead Earth, mixed with a property that has an audience that could have been reading the IDW stuff but wasn't, and was kind of just looking for a place to jump onto, and the Image Skybound stuff really gave them a chance to do that. So doing a kind of classic G1 style Transformers book by a creator that people will read anything he does is a recipe for us to sell a ton of graphic novels over the year.
Debating whether or not I make a tournament joke for that, since you said G1.
Okay.
I'll move along. Number 2?
Whoa.
No, I said number 2, not number 3.
Okay.
An original standalone graphic novel by the 2 best in the biz. Houses of the Unholy.
Houses of the Unholy. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Rebecca Phillips. I'm sorry. I was thinking of books I read.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry.
Interestingly, Where the Body Was, which came out earlier in the year, placed at 12.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Usually the book that comes out earlier in the year does better because it has a longer time to sell.
Honestly, I think the Satanic Panic aspect of Houses of the Unholy was a selling point for people.
We had a few people who picked it up who I do not remember being regular, consistent Rebecca Phillips readers, so you're probably right.
And even though we did not have a new volume of Saga for sale this year,
thanks, guys.
Saga 11 clocks in at number 4.
Yeah.
But it also came out in December of last year, so
it really was a lot of the early part of this year. People finally realizing, there's a new Saga volume because they're not on a regular cadence anymore. So people who are just Saga readers or more casual comic readers altogether don't know when these things come out. So they'll just forget for a while and then be in the shop and be like, was there a new Saga volume? And it's 3 months ago.
Our list is always a little bit skewed for books we did signings for. For example,
Always.
Whoa, which is
Whoa.
number 3. And it probably could have been number 1 if we had access to more right from the beginning.
Again, there was a little period where we just didn't have them.
Yep. And then Let's Make Bread clocks in at number 8. We did a signing for that.
Some of that is a signing, but some of that is us just pushing it.
Yeah.
We have it on the front table.
Sure, it was Donovan's Christmas gift recommendation and one of her picks for the year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who see that on the front table are surprised to see something like that in a comic book. They don't think of that subject matter as being something you do a comic about. So they get kind of excited and they look at it, and it certainly sells to people who are not looking for much of a narrative experience, but think having a comic book about making bread seems cool.
Sure. And what I think is a really unique, fun statistic, a fun fact, Let's Make Bread, illustrated by Sarah Beacon, is at number 8.
Peaks.
Number 7,
I Am Okay.
I Am Okay by Sarah Beacon, a book that's not new this year.
Nope. A book of monster formations.
That she did for Inktober a couple years ago.
A whole bunch of cinematic monsters giving you personal affirmations.
Yeah, and we sold them over and over, and so much to the point where she's like, hey, I only have this many in stock total. How many do you want? And we said, we'll take everything you have.
Yeah. They're just very cool, and much like the Rachel Bard and Andy Bell stuff, I think it's things that people who go to a lot of comic shops don't necessarily see around.
Yeah.
So they're more likely to pick something like that up because it seems like a unique thing to have instead of just a Sandman volume you can get wherever, or a Saga volume, or
And this is a
Dan
smaller, square-bound, widescreen format. I believe it's the Babadook on the cover saying, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that she's back-to-back in our top 10.
Yeah.
And that is not, we didn't do a signing for that. And that's a book we've stocked.
Not for I'm Okay, no.
Right. And that's a book we've stocked when she first put it out a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's
But
just
this year was its breakout. Punk Rock Karaoke that we did a signing for clocks in at 20.
Bianchi.
Kids Are Still Weird by Jeffrey Brown is at 21. That's also our highest Sidekicks book.
Oh.
And that's it for signings, although the first draft of this had Wine Ghost by Sage Coffee as well on this list, but it got knocked out once we added the
kids books
back in. Yeah. So I'll quickly go down the top couple again. Number 1, Transformers. Number 2, Houses of the Unholy. Number 3, Whoa, A House Cat Story of Despair. Number 4, Saga Volume 11. Number 5, Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathan Hickman, Volume 1, Married with Children. Number 6, Friday Book 3, Christmas Time is Here Again. Number 7, I Am Okay. Number 8, Let's Make Bread. Number 9, Batman the Brave and the Bold, The Winning Card.
That was another one that we pushed really hard because I thought it was a really good Tom King, Mitch Gerads story. And I think it's the sort of thing that if you just want a good Batman book, which, shocker, a lot of people just want a good Batman book, it's an easy thing to pick up. It's not a huge expense. It's not tied to any of the current continuity. It's a kind of perfect casual reader book. And also when you say it's like, oh, this is modern creators retelling the first meeting of Batman and the Joker, a lot of people want to read that story.
The annoying thing about it is it's called Batman Brave and the Bold Volume 1. There's no Volume 2.
There will be, but we'll never stock it.
Well, it's also just collected stories from Batman Brave and the Bold 1, 2, 4, and 9. Okay.
Yeah, the Volume 2 is going to be a bunch of short stories from other creators, and for a book that got canceled that we were probably selling one off the shelf by the end, I don't care to stock another volume of it.
10, Lovesick. Was that a book club book?
I don't remember if it was or not. Maybe.
I try to remember what ones on here on book clubs are, but the surprising thing about Lovesick is that Doll Parts, a Lovesick story, is out right now in individual form.
Yep.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that, considering how strong our sales were consistently for Lovesick. But again, I guess it's just a thing where the audience that's picking that up probably is not picking up a lot of other stuff or comes to the comic shop normally, so they have no idea there's a new volume out.
Number 11, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees.
Yep.
Number 12, Where the Body Was. Number 13, the first of a reappearance of a Volume 1, Department of Truth Volume 1. This is where we're getting into older books that still make the top list.
Still sell.
Like
4 volumes of that book, so yeah, Volume 1's still going to sell.
Like number 14, Turtles Last Ronin hardcover.
Yeah. I thought that would have a stronger year. There was a period where it really was clicking with people, but I don't think it's especially over the last couple of months. I don't think it moved very fast.
But there also was a period where we didn't have it for a little bit.
Sure, but
Earlier in the year.
there was a period where we were stocking, I think, 4 copies
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
just selling almost every day. And I think it was probably, I'm trying to remember, but I think there was like a video game announcement or a movie announcement or something. There was some sort of media announcement that put it back in a lot of people's faces. So they went to the comic shop and was like, what is this last Ronin thing?
Number 15, Black Cloak Volume 1.
Okay.
Number 16,
Kelly Thompson here.
World Tree Volume 1. Number 17, Duo Power Bomb. Number 18, another standalone graphic novel. We called them Giants.
That just came out too.
And number 19, definitely on this list because it was in the book club, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. But also,
Ish, but also a book we push.
yeah, but also a book that was unavailable for a while.
Yeah, and I think the other main thing is, again, there was a media announcement about that.
Yeah.
There is a movie coming out in 2 years. So I think that'll probably make a pretty high appearance in 2025 as more information comes out about that, assuming anyone likes the Superman movie that James Gunn is doing.
And lastly, for this part of the list, number 20, Punk Rock Karaoke by Bianca Muniz.
Yay.
Single issues, however, are a much less diverse list.
So homogenous.
The top 10 sales for us can be described in 2 words.
Here, first, a little bit of note on how we're going to talk about the single issue comics.
Yes.
Once upon a time, I would spend an ungodly amount of time going through and compiling the list, basically saying any variant cover for an issue should be counted in sales for the issue. So instead of looking at, Batman 153 cover A sold 20 copies and cover B sold 10 copies and cover C sold 5 copies, we would just say that issue sold 35 copies. I don't do that anymore because there are so many covers to so many books that you would not even be hearing about this list until February at the earliest if I still had to do that. So when we talk about how things ranked, we are no longer combining all of the covers. So in theory, some of these books could move higher up if we took all of the variants for a comic and added them together. Maybe would place higher on the list. But I'm not doing that. That's an insane amount of work. So just know that these are cover A's sales.
Sure. Yes. So the 2 words to describe our top 10 are Absolute Saga.
Yep. There was a year where when Saga would come out like 9 times a year, where like the top, like of the top 10 books, like 9 of them were issues of Saga. And like the highest one was the one that came out like 6 months ago. And like the lowest one was the one that came out 2 weeks ago.
Well, in 2024, 4 issues of Saga came out.
Mm-hmm.
Already in 2025, 1 has come out.
Yeah.
All 4 issues of Saga are in our top 20.
Yep.
With 3 of them being in the top 10. And, of course, in random order. They rank 67, 69, 68, 70
Right.
as far as their issue numbers.
Weird. Yeah, Saga still is one of our most subscribed to comics. Maybe our most subscribed to comic. I can't remember. It has a readership that is okay. So here's the thing about Saga, and I'm only saying this because I'm going to be doing deadbeat emails in a couple days, and I was already looking through the subscription boxes. We are once again hitting a point where people who have signed up for Saga have not been paying attention to any of our emails, saying that Saga has started back up again. And now they are 3 issues deep, and they are never going to come back in again. And I'm going to end up putting out, collectively, probably 12 to 15 copies of Saga in about 2 weeks once I have to drop these people from the subscription service. And I don't know what it is about this readership and this title, but it is epidemic. I do this at least 4 times a year, where I have to just throw a bunch of copies of Saga back on the shelf. And again, this is still our most subscribed to book. So it's just another wave of people coming in, signing up for Saga, and then never picking it up. And I don't understand it. You don't see it with any other title this consistently. I mean, there's always going to be Batmans and X-Men's that go on the shelf. But oh my God, it's always like 3 copies of the last 3 issues of Saga every couple months.
Yep.
That I have to put back on the shelf. And the next time we get someone who just signs up for Saga, I want to like call them on the phone and have a conversation and be like, you're not going to burn us, right? Like,
we only get like 4 of these a year.
You know that this is there's an issue coming out in 3 weeks. I'm looking on the monitor. It's coming out in 3 weeks. You're going to get an email in 3 weeks that says it's out, and then you're going to come in and you're going to buy it, right? Right? because I don't understand it. Like, you only get Saga. You only got to come in for this one book. And yet, every couple months, 3 people randomly in our subscription service
Just quit.
have just burned us on
Just
Saga.
Stop reading Saga.
So anyway, Saga did great for us this past year.
Yeah.
2024. Lots of sales.
Here's what's hilarious to me. There were 12 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man that came out in 2024.
Okay.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Number 12, which was the Christmas issue that came out real close to Christmas,
Yeah.
is all the way down at number 47 in our top 50.
Okay. Because it just didn't have enough time to sell many copies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Except there is one issue of Ultimate Spider-Man that does not rank in our top 50.
Which one?
Number 1.
So, some of that, I can't remember when it came out. It came out, what, last December?
No. It came out in January. Yeah.
So gets back to what we were talking about, what I talked about before Patrick started reading off of this list, which is that we are not counting
All the variant covers.
or subsequent printings. So for Ultimate Spider-Man, we did not have a lot of pre-orders for this, like pretty much everyone else in the country. The week the book came out, everyone went crazy for it. Marvel went back to press on this book like 8 times. I think they might still be going back to press on Ultimate Spider-Man number 1. So a lot of our sales were either in some of the variant covers for issue 1 or in subsequent printings.
Which we
2,
also did
3,
not
4.
tabulate for this list.
So our cover A issue 1 numbers for Ultimate Spider-Man are nowhere near what we order for cover A of issue 11, 12, 13.
Right.
So yeah, the amount of copies we had of cover A would not make our top 50.
Right. Had we
So it's not that the book didn't sell.
absoluted it would have been
Yeah.
possibly number 1.
Oh, for sure. We already took what I thought was a pretty aggressive stance on it, considering what our pre-orders were, which again, not high.
Yeah, and we also ordered significantly higher than we do of Amazing Spider-Man regularly.
Right. Again, like I said, I think it was an aggressive stance.
And we didn't copy those numbers over. You had to subscribe to Ultimate Spider-Man by itself.
Because it wouldn't make sense to me. It would be like saying you subscribe to Batman, so we signed you up for Detective. Like, those are 2 different books by 2 different creators.
Right.
Hell, Amazing and Ultimate are 2 different continuities.
Right.
So, with Ultimate Spider-Man number 1, yeah, it would have been nice if they would have done the DC thing of letting us get a bunch of copies in in a way that made it sensible for us to stock hundreds of copies. Marvel didn't, so we took what we thought was an aggressive stance based on our pre-orders, but instead we could have done 5 times that, at least.
So the top 20,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the top 22.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Yes.
This will be quick.
Uh-huh.
Number 1, Absolute Batman number 1. Number 2, Absolute Wonder Woman number 1. Number 3, Absolute Superman number 1. Number 4, Absolute Batman number 2. Number 5, DC All-In Special number 1. Number 6, Absolute Batman number 3. Number 7, Saga 67. Number 8, Absolute Wonder Woman number 2. Number 9, Saga 69. Number 10, Saga 68. Now that we're out of the top 10, number 11, Ultimate Spider-Man 4. Ultimate Spider-Man 3. Absolute Superman 2. Ultimate Spider-Man 10. Ultimate Spider-Man 8. Ultimate Spider-Man 9. Ultimate Spider-Man 7. Saga number 70. Ultimate Spider-Man 6. Number 20. Ultimate Spider-Man 5.
Yeah. It's pretty homogenous, like I said. There have been years where it's just, Saga and X-Men and Batman, and that's sort of it. Once you get outside the top 25, I think things start to loosen up a little bit. You start to see more launches that hit pretty well.
Sure.
But yeah, there is a hold that a few books have at the top that are crucial for stores and their continued health. Again, Ultimate Spider-Man came out 12 times a year, and that thing is a lock for Marvel as far as we're concerned. But it only came out 12 times a year. One of the things that's nice about the Absolute line is that people are getting everything. So we get 3 bites of the apple each month as opposed to just 1. And that's great.
So going off of
And again, Saga came out 4 times.
Ultimate X-Men number 1 hit at number 41.
Uh-huh.
And then that's it for the Ultimates.
Yeah.
No Ultimates, no Ultimate Black Panther.
Yeah. I mean, some of that, though, is... I couldn't say without looking at the data, but I think in general, once you get to the bottom half of our top 50, I think the sales numbers are pretty high for those compared to past years. Certainly our number 1 book for this year, for 2024, probably sold double what our #1 book for 2023 probably sold
Sure.
without knowing what it was off
Yeah.
the top of my head. The Absolute Batman #1 was huge. And again, that's just cover A first print. Like, it's a lot of copies.
Here's some fun facts. Number 23, Uncanny X-Men #1. Number 24, Fall of the House of X #1.
Yay.
Number 25, X-Men #1. And then, what's the third ongoing X book?
Exceptional.
Not in the top 50.
Sorry, Dr. Evel Ewing. I like that book.
Sure. Batman Robin Year 1, number 26. Power Fantasy #1, number 28. Aliens vs. Avengers 31. And then, Batman 153 is at number 42. And then Justice League Unlimited #1, which is fairly, like, it came out in December.
Yeah.
Is at number 46. Oh, and then Turtles Last Ronin Re-Evolution #1 was at 49. So those are the only, those titles I just listed were the only other non...
Absolute Saga Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah. A list dominated by the top two, by the big two.
It always is kind of, again, like Saga is usually the outlier. Sometimes it can be a different book. Like I think Do a Powerbomb charted pretty well for us one year because we did an exclusive variant for that.
Sure.
And that sold a bunch of copies that it wouldn't normally sell.
But that wouldn't have been that would have been its own listing. It wouldn't,
No, it's
you wouldn't
a
have
comic book.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, it's always going to be a few hits that kind of dominate the top of the list. And then again, you need to go into like, numbers 25 to 50 or then, 50 to 100 to sort of see a little bit more diversity in the material.
Yeah, outside of Saga, the only other non-Marvel DC book was Power Fantasy #1 at 28.
Yeah. And again, that's just cover A. There was a cover B to that book.
Yeah, that's true. But it's always disappointing when that's 28. Number 2 doesn't rank in the top 50.
No. But that's fairly typical, unfortunately. It's rare to have, I mean, you can see when a book is really hot when even the follow-up issues are selling consistently. For most books, you'll have a huge #1 and then a drop of, 40% more between issues 1 and 2, and then another drop between 2 and 3, and then hopefully you found your level, but that level probably is going to be pretty low.
Quick X statistics that are fun. Relaunch X-Men #1, 25. Old series number 35 at 30. Relaunch X-Men #2 at 33. Relaunch 33 at number 40. Old series 33 at number 40. Old series 31 at 45. Old series number 30 at 48. New series number 4 at 50.
Yeah, that's kind of how the X-Men books are doing. They are all charting lower than we would like.
And I didn't mention how many Fall of House of X and Rise of Powers of 10 are above it.
Yep.
The new Uncanny X-Men were 23 for 1, 27 for 2, 36 for 4, 38 for 3. There you go.
Crazy. Yeah, the Marvel stuff, Ultimate Spider-Man's doing great, and then Hickman had another hit with Aliens vs. Avengers. Outside of that, there's not a lot that we're really seeing a ton of interest in. Certain books will always kind of sell at a level that is good. Amazing Spider-Man, obviously. But everything else is just kind of like, they're waiting for something to catch fire again, because nothing seems to.
How annoying is it that there's a new Amazing Spider-Man #1 coming when it's with the current writer?
It's a little surprising that they're doing a Joe Kelly event series and then they're like, he's a new writer. Like, why wasn't this the new #1?
Yeah.
Very strange.
Everything about this is strange, but it's a new year for things to get stranger even. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.